Hello, everybody. Let's do this. Let's put this into a split. We're making a bonus patch for this library. This is a new library for MiniFreak. Let's add a bass. Let's go up here. Let's say maybe we'll add. We got to add Skippy's boom bass. I mean, that's a given right there. Got to have a little bit of that. Let's key zone it. Let's add something to give it a little bit more fun. Let's say bass rad ARP. Let's load that in. And if you right click on this key zone up here, you can just click and drag to change the key range. There we go, we got a little tempo going. Let's get a drum groove. Get basses, let's get a kick drum. And the whole thing's too loud, so let's turn it down. How are you guys doing? Hope you had a good week. Oh, and there's this really irritating thing with the MiniFreak and sustain pedals. If you're playing something that's got an ARP and you hit the sustain pedal, it dies. So go over here to the MIDI effects and let's go to utility, MIDI filter, and put on the sustain emulate. And now it won't go away. Let's see, I want to get the right hand to be a little bit louder. Let's get a hi-hat into here. Let's see, let's add this one and we'll add an upbeat. And then we should put the skip boom bass should be bumping a little bit, not just sitting there. A couple of ways we could do that. Let's go over to boom bass. There's a pump house right here. That kind of works. You don't really hear what it's doing, but if we were to like kill the other BPM bass, here goes mute. See, it's out of the way when the kick hits. Let's put a delay. Let's have this sound here go through delay. Over here, say add a delay. That's better. And let's get the right hand, let's get the keyboard part to have a little bit more animations. Let's go arpeggiators, add the blue ARP. Let's go over here, turn on, let's say off for everything, and then we'll just say chord for a few hits here and there. Let's say bum bum. There. That's getting there. Now this week I'm going to make a few more bonus patches for this library. So we'll put them all together as an update to get out to everybody. Let's just call this BPM split live stream jam for the moment. I'll give it a more complete name when it's not live stream time. So I hope you all are well. Welcome. My name is John Limcool. This is a fun live stream. We've got a new library we've just released. I'm really thrilled to bring this library to you. This library comes from a friend of mine that's been, God, what, like over like 25, 30 years I have been friends with Andrew. Drew. I got to get used to calling him Drew. I've called him Andrew for so long, I just call him Drew. But it's a library for MiniFreak, and it works for both the hardware and the software versions of the MiniFreak from Arturia. Now, we realize a lot of you don't have a MiniFreak yet. You don't have to buy the software if you have the V collection and you're waiting for them to bring it out in the V collection update that they'll inevitably bring out, where they include this probably in the next, I'd say, 6 months or so. I'll offer a sale. I'll give you guys a nice opportunity to get this when they do the V collection update. If you have MiniFreak, it's a cool synth, and we'll look at it. We'll talk about it with Drew in a minute. He's here for an interview, so we'll get to say hi to him in person. But let's do a couple basics. So this library is available. Let me show you the link to the page where you can pick this up. This is at my humble little website, pluginguru.com. God, we're over 90 libraries now. It just keeps growing and growing. Over 40 libraries for Omnisphere. I think we're up to like 20 libraries for Unify. It's pretty exciting. And you come here, you can see there's a banner here at the top of the page. Don't forget Dark Forces. Tomorrow night is the last day to get the Dark Forces Omnisphere 2 library for $20. It becomes $29 tomorrow night. But here, inspiration for MiniFreak. This is hybrid synthetics. And you can get it for a really sweet price until April 15th. So that way you know you get your tax discount and all that kind of stuff, and you can go from there. But Drew has been around for a while. There's a really interesting story to, let's see here. I want to go and say, make that go away. He's been in this industry for a long time, then took a hiatus, kind of a Rocky Balboa kind of thing. And now he's getting back into it and seeing what it's like to make patches and share them with people and get community feedback. Get so much great feedback from all of you guys. So this, and we'll probably do 5 or 10 bonus patches at least to get you some like additional patches that have some cool, just to show you what the sounds can do together in rhythmic context and stuff like that. But at this time, because Drew has a lot going on, we're going to shift over into saying hello to Drew mode. So the camera is on the screen. Hello, Drew.
How do you?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Good to see you.
It's
although all I see is your
I know
screenshot.
You see the well, here I think we'll see if this works. Since I'm not going to be playing a lot right now, I think I might be okay. It's just computers
now I see it.
yeah. So right on, man. Good to see you. So everybody, this is Drew Schlesinger. Hello, everybody in the live stream. There's like over 50 people here already. That's really cool. Welcome to the live stream. We're thrilled to see all of you here. So this is Drew Schlesinger. Drew has been an industry veteran with like over 200 products you've done patches for.
Yeah.
In fact, I have. We'll pop up in a minute the list. It's an extensive list. I think you probably worked on more products than I have. When you add it all up, it's somewhere around the same number, maybe, because I've done a lot of stuff also where I've done cards and stuff, which you have in your list as well. But guys, check this out. So here is his resume. Don't call him. His phone number is there, but I tried to but he's worked on all of these instruments and synthesizers. But this is actually this library. If you want to know a secret, this is his first library of patches you can buy. Since when?
1989. Last one was for the K1.
Wow.
Kwai
Yeah.
K1.
I sold the Kwai K1 at music stores in Seattle. I love the fly, the kill the fly patch. And you let up and it goes. It has such a great gritty. The grit of that was like so unique because it's just horrible, but in a really cool way.
There's actually, I just found, and I don't know where the link is. Somebody made a software version of it, and it's free.
Yeah, I've seen that. We should look into that because it is a really cool synth. Here, I'm gonna turn off. I had my AC running because it's warm up here. The irony of living in Portland is that it's cold and cold and cold, and then all of a sudden it warms up. And it doesn't take much. When you live on the second floor of I'm on the second floor for the studio of my house, and the ceiling, when the sun hits the ceiling, all of a sudden this room just starts to get nice and warm. So it goes from needing the heater to needing the AC like in a 24-hour window. So, hey, Tim. Tim Dale is here.
And cold out here.
Yeah, you're cold?
It's rainy, cold, and gray. New York, typical March.
Yeah. Give it a month and then it'll be really pretty, right?
Yeah.
Just that last aching like of winter is here. So, but check out this resume. So Drew and myself worked together on the Korg Z1. In fact, somewhere I have a really just incredible. Yeah, here we go. Here's a picture of the two of us with the Korg Z1 voicing team. What year was that? Do you remember? That was in the 90s, right?
Yes, it was in the 90s, 93?
Yeah, 93, 94, something like that. So I was much skinnier back then.
We all had more hair.
We all had more hair. But that was such a cool synth to be a part of. I need to actually find a Z1 on eBay and buy one. I have one, but the power supply is out, and Korg no longer makes power supplies for them.
Yeah.
So
you have to go to some, a repair,
right?
Some repair person to do it.
Right. Maybe I could do that.
I don't have one, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to have to do the same thing.
Yeah. It hasn't gotten to the point to where people are like, it's a must own and it becomes a $3,000 used.
Right.
It's still in kind of a area where it's
sleeper mode,
somewhat affordable. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, so you had this opportunity to work with all these really great companies, doing voicing, not only instruments, but also you really got into doing stuff for TC Electronics, Eventide, Lexicon.
Yeah, actually, probably the two things that are the most influential, or that probably would be most known, is the black hole reverb for the DSP 4000. I did the algorithm, the interior patch for that. They've been selling for years in various forms, and also Crystal Echoes, which was Shimmer, the first version of Shimmer for the H3000.
Wow.
And that was back in 87, I think.
Doing the pitch shifting delays?
Yeah, with reverse shifting with some delay and tuned to a fifth.
Right.
And that thing just took off and took on a life of its own.
Yeah.
A lot of work with Lexicon, Sony, Yamaha, TC.
Yeah.
A lot of reverb work.
Well, reverb it's really funny. I actually have a video I want to do, because with convolution reverb, you almost don't have to keep buying reverb per se in some respects. Although, some of the algorithmic shifting octave types, those types of reverbs are cool, and there's still stuff in reverb to do. But man, the convolution, you can have $3,000 worth of reverb units inside a Unify in about that very short period of time if you want. But
and there's a lot of free ones out there, a lot of free samples.
Yes,
it's amazing. You're right. You could have what would be thousands and thousands of dollars worth of rack gear.
Yeah,
that would need work, need maintenance.
Yep, and heating up your room.
Yeah.
Well, hey, from your list,
in the winter,
when it comes to the synthesizers, what were a couple of highlights that you worked on that you really enjoyed? Do you remember from?
Actually, you named one, and the other one was probably the Prophecy.
Okay.
The two, when we got to go to Japan, I went to Japan for the Prophecy.
Yeah.
And went there for the Z1, and they stand out. A couple of others, the Morpheus from Emu, the first one that had the Z playing filters, that was a really cool machine. Yeah. The Roland JD800, when that first appeared. Actually, that was the first product I worked on for Roland. So there's so many.
And now I didn't see your name. Did you work on the V synth?
I did.
Because I did too. I was still working for Korg, and like the Ring and a couple other patches in there from me. Incognito, I didn't pronounce, or like You know,
Right.
no chest bumping at that time because I was still at Korg, and they're like, you know, please don't work for anybody else.
Right. It's funny. Only now, 30 years later, I'm meeting people that worked on the V Synth at the same time who are still around, still doing great work. Houston Singletary
Yes.
at Ableton.
Yes.
He did a lot of work on it, and other people through the web, you know, and Facebook. I find, you know, oh, you worked on that too, and which is really cool.
Yeah.
These are because at that time is Roland would call me up or email me, say, got new synth. They'd send it to me.
Right.
We want 50 patches or 100 patches.
Right.
I
Right.
do the patches. They say you have to have them by this date. UPS guy would come, take the synth away. In fact, it's funny. I did a lot of the cards for the JV 1080, the 2080, the 5080, all those
Right.
on the boards they put in there.
Yes.
And they would send me a unit from Japan with the board in it. I do the patches. They take it back. And then they call me, you know, a few months later and say, we got another board. They'd send me another unit, the same unit, I think, from Japan with the board in it,
Oh
just
my
that
gosh.
board. I do the patches and then ship it back.
That is, you know, the hip hop PCM expansion board?
Yeah, yeah,
I did the drum loops.
really.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, I think that was really a seminal piece of work at the time. It was really at the, you know, the forefront of
It opened up their door, and yeah, the hip hop producers started like, oh, hey, we can use this. And they started just using all the patches in there and stuff like that. Yeah, I did drum kits for the 1090, or was it which one was it? What was the one that had all the cards in it? They hired me to do 2 drum kits.
The
Is it the 5080, I think. Yeah.
5080 was the biggest one that they had.
Right.
The what was it? XV 5080 or VX 5080? I forget.
Yeah,
You know, the numbers.
it says in your resume, it says XV 5080.
Okay, I think that was it.
Yeah,
that was one I think could hold 8 boards.
Right. Yeah, it was crazy amount of data to be accessible and all that kind of a stuff. So, hey, if you guys in the chat have any questions, feel free to post something. Kindle, one of our dear customers who loves to do sounds and stuff, he goes, did his parents have a music store too?
Actually, amazingly enough, nobody in my family had anything to do with music at all. We didn't have a piano. I started playing a combo organ after I saw The Doors on Ed Sullivan. And so I learned by playing organ, never really took serious music lessons.
Wow.
I started playing in bands, you know, when I was 13.
That's a great story. And then, so you actually took a break from voicing and doing the card work and so forth, and then went into the family's business, right?
Actually, I was in the family business while I was even doing the programming.
Oh, okay.
I did in around 2000, and actually it was right around 2000. We had our second child, we had a mortgage, and I decided I was starting to get tinnitus and I needed a break. I kind of had burned the candle at all 3 ends.
Right.
And I said, I'm going to take a break.
Yeah.
And then I went into the corporate world, which I'm still in, and I do large scale program management and project management for web for Fortune 50 companies. And I've now, I guess back around 2019, I went back to the NAMM show and started putting my feet back in the water. And now I've done some work with Cherry Audio.
Right.
On the GX, the combination CS80 GX synth.
Oh, the TX, yeah, the TX.
GX80, I think is what they call it.
Right.
And Mercury synth. I did some work for GeForce. I did some work on the Nina, which is just being released from Melbourne Instruments, the new one with the motorized knobs.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Those really, knobs are we did Synthplex last year in Los Angeles, and they were there with a little booth, and they just need to bring out a controller of just those. I mean, the synth engine, I'm sure, is pretty well thought out, and
it sounds like 12 mini modes.
Oh,
It's really, I mean, it's rich and fat, but it's also got a third digital oscillator that does wavetable. And now you can import external wavetables. So they're just getting this thing out and rolling. And because it's all, I said it's got a digital brain, an analog heart, and a robotic body.
yeah. If you guys haven't seen this, there's probably a video on YouTube you can search for. But look,
There is.
but it has moving knobs that will move to the settings for the patches as you call them up. So all of these knobs are moving in real time. And what's really amazing with the knobs is that they've figured out, they found a company that makes knobs that can have haptic feedback designed into how the knob behaves.
Yeah.
So it can spin 360 forever, or it can be where it has 5 clicks and you really feel it as 5 I was just blown away.
It's amazing. Yeah. It can be a switch. It can be a knob,
It's
an endless encoder. It can have a certain range.
Yeah.
They can adjust the resistance. So how how much pressure you have to use to turn it.
right.
And it's great. And it
It's
sounds great.
it sounds great as a synthesizer. And I was bringing everybody over to their booth because I have a number of friends for different companies, and I'm like, you guys got to see this, because everything should have these knobs, because having that kind of feedback and having a handful of controllers, but being able to have something that's it's a full free running thing on one patch. Then you go to the next patch and you feel a little fine tuning for 100 increments. And it's like, it feels like it's a real hardware increment knob. It was really incredible.
Yeah. The thing, it's really robustly built. It actually, the design is almost TR-909-ish. The buttons down at the bottom, the red row of red buttons, are really very reminiscent of the TR-909.
Right.
It's really a great synth.
Wow. Hey, Gottfried is saying, how did you like working on the Ensoniq VFX SD? You remember working on that?
All the Ensoniq stuff was great. I mean, it's easy to say that. The VFX was also really pretty early and incredibly powerful.
Yes.
I believe it had polyphonic aftertouch.
Well, it had the knobs over there that you could like a complete redesign of the patch could be on a knob. So you just push that and it would like go to a completely different alternative patch, right?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that they didn't make it, but what they made, I mean, the VFX, the SQ1, the TS10.
Well, starting with the Mirage. I mean, my gosh.
Right.
I mean,
and the SQ1 was the first one with digital. I think it had wavetables, or they called them transwaves.
Yes.
They were a great company, and they were actually out here in Pennsylvania, well, nearby.
Yes. Yeah.
And Terry Kowarski was there. So.
Yep. Before he joined Korg.
Right.
Post Casio. Yeah, and then before that, he was with Casio. He was actually product manager at Casio when I was working at the music store in Seattle. And when the FZ1 sampler came out, they had a competition with the sampler. If you make your own samples and do a demo sequence, and I won that competition.
It was the first 16-bit sampler.
Yeah, those were good old days back then, man. I tell you. So
that was the early frontier, the CZ1, the CZ101, the VZ1 and 10. FC was really, Casio was really a cutting edge. It all came from a whole system. I think it was called the Cosmos system that they had built for Tomita, which was this huge rack of large rack-mounted devices that were the CZ and the FZ. It's too bad that they didn't continue some of that lineage. I would have loved to have seen them do a CZ2, expand it. And from what I understand, actually somebody's gone through the CZ and found that there's like another 200 or so, excuse me, or 250 waveforms in there, and they only chose 8. So there's only 8 that ended up in the CZ101 and the CZ1, but embedded in there are tons of others. And it's probably because they couldn't fit any more buttons on the front panel.
Or a lot of times companies were waiting for other chips to be developed that would be able to support. They wanted to do stuff,
Right.
but it wasn't available at an affordable price back then. Oh, well, we
Yeah,
could do a
memory was so
24-bit chip, but
expensive.
it's twice as expensive as a 16-bit chip and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Definitely
So,
MiniFreak. Well, hey, let's fast forward a bit. So you've joined it. I have the photo somewhere. Let me find this. There's another great photo. I think you posted it on this one here. You have your own now of what's the new synth you just got?
oh, the Syntrix 2.
Yeah. Now, is that a photo? The silver, is that a Syntrix 1 or is that a different
Oh
synth?
no, that's it. That's the EMS Synthy that I've had since I've had a Synthy since 1979, but that's actually a Cornwall Synthy. So I waited almost 13 years, 12 and a half years to get it. I put a deposit down, and he was making them like one at a time, and he only had a certain number of cases left. And finally, about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, he called me up and said, yours is coming due. And I had an old one. I sold the old one, which funded the new one, because the old ones, after a while, the parts go bad. And I was like, getting these things fixed is really a drag.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So it's literally brand new. And if you open it up, what's amazing, you look at the inside and it's built identically to the way that it was back in 1969. All hand wired. I mean, meticulous, incredible craftsmanship.
And the sound of it too is like nothing else.
Nothing sounds like it. It's its own thing, and that's a lot of the reason why it's coveted by so many people is because it sounds unlike anything else, and you can make the thing just make the craziest sounds. Now, good news is that the new Erica, the Syntrix 2,
yes,
which is their sort of take on the Synthy, it doesn't sound, the filter doesn't sound like a Synthy, but it's got a high and low pass filter.
Yeah.
And I just got it last week. It sounds amazing. It's an incredible. Anybody who's jonesing for a EMS,
yeah,
this will get you 86% there.
Yeah, yeah,
and more. I mean, it's really well designed. Really a great device. I give them a lot of credit for thinking this thing through and really taking it like into the new millennium.
Yeah, yeah. One of my neighbors that does film has one, and he hired me to come over and do some like template patches for him, so he could just like quickly call this up and it's like this. And I need one that's doing kind of like the robot speaking. And there's all sorts of template patches on YouTube you can find that people have done as videos. So we use that as a starting point for some of them.
Yep, it's great. I'm glad to have it because I really don't travel with my Synthy ever. It never leaves my house.
There's too much of a risk of something breaking or something.
Too much risk. I mean, it's insured, but it's irreplaceable. So
right.
And really, to be honest with you, the MiniFreak and the Syntrix are the first two synths I bought in over 16 years. So when I left the industry, pretty much most of the hardware, except for my Synthy and a small surge system, that was all that was left. And I've been doing stuff in hardware. I mean, you can spend your life in Omnisphere.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
So I didn't really have any hardware, and then I saw the MiniFreak at, where did I see? Well, they announced it, and then I saw it at Synthplex, and I played it, and I said, "This reminds me of a CZ101 conceptually for the year 2023."
Yeah.
I like the size of it. I like the interface.
Yeah.
And I played it. I said, "This sounds like it could really do some great sounds." So it's really the first bank of sounds, or the first machine that I've worked on where I've done it out of sort of the love of trying to learn the machine and make sounds.
Yes.
I didn't start out thinking I was going to sell a patch bank. I started out just making sounds, and then I just was going one after the next and finding all these new things. And then I looked at it, I said, this should be a bank of sounds. And I said, why not put my foot back in the water, see what the heck happens? I mean, it's whole different ball game from when I used to sell CZ cartridges and ship them COD across the country.
Right. Yeah. Now you advertised an electronic musician, you said, right?
Yep, in the back. Actually, I don't want to sound egotistical. I'd like to be humble. I was one of the first, along with Bo Tomlin had the DX7, and I started with this Casio CZ, and
Wow.
and then Sound Source also started doing some sounds, and then there was a company called Valhalla.
Yep.
But I originally started selling my sounds on patch sheets at Manny's. I walked in there with an envelope, and I said, "I've made these sounds, and we check them out." There was a guy named Rick Stevenson who ran the keyboard department. Great guy who sadly has passed. He checked them out. And he told the guys that owned the store, we should sell these. They put them in the window. They started selling them. Next thing I knew, I'm going in there sort of every week with 10 envelopes filled with patch sheets, and then the cartridges came out, and then I could sell 64 voice cartridges, and that all blew up. Then I was selling hardware and shipping them around to stores and shipping them to customers.
Wow.
And then Casio offered me a gig to come to the NAMM show one summer in Chicago and display them. I went, and then I started making the rounds, and then I did the K1, and then I wrote the CZ book, and then I just started.
And then everybody knew who you were and wanted a piece of the Drew sound.
It was a great time. I mean, I got to play with and program so many incredible devices as they were coming out, and that was like kind of the second golden age. First being Minimoog, the ARP Odyssey, the
right.
Tundra, and then it was the digital age with the DX7, the CZ101,
right,
Kwai, and then Roland brought out the JV stuff, and it just blew up.
Yeah, it was a really cool renaissance to be a part of, for sure. Yeah. No, when I worked at
there.
Huh?
You were.
Well, I was working at a music store from 85 to 88, and the Korg DSS-1 came out. Remember the little sampling? And I actually did some discs that I sold in the back of Keyboard Magazine to like 3 customers that I shipped.
That's exactly the same.
Yeah, back in the day. I mean, that's how we did it. And then it was like huge window till is like the internet was like, well, I think I could. The reason I started Plug-in Guru was because I wanted to learn FM8. I wanted to learn Native Instruments FM8. It was intimidating to me, which was, I knew DX7 for FM, and I'd cut my teeth on FM synthesis. That's where I really figured things out. But the FM8 concept, the way that they did the modular for the operators and stuff, it didn't click. And so I started making patches, and just like you, I was like, hey, these are coming out kind of good. And the internet was kind of there. And I was working with an opera singer at the time, and we had done some recordings that a guy in Australia heard, and he wanted a CD of. And I sent him a CD, and he sent me a bottle of Australian wine, and he says, oh, and I do websites. And he's the gentleman that helped me make Plug-in Guru become a website. I would not exist without Peter Needham, my friend from Australia.
And how many years is it now?
2009 was when we went live, but this was like 2007, 2008, maybe when I was working with Koei, and she's now got 3 boys and all that kind of stuff. But we did the songs, and I have an album on, if you guys look on Spotify for Real Cool, REALKUHL, you can find my album. Featuring is what it's called, because it's just all the songs are with either an incredible jazz trumpet player that played muted trumpet. We did some songs, and Koei sang, and my friend Kathy Talbot. Just little written songs that we did together with people. I haven't done a solo album I did a Christmas solo album, but that's a whole different thing. Well, hey, so let's fast forward to the MiniFreak. So you were intrigued with the MiniFreak. You started making patches. Yeah. What is it about the MiniFreak that like really got you interested in it?
First of all the number of algorithms and how different they all sounded, and then married to the 6 analog filters.
Yes,
they're 12 dB, so they're a little thinner than like a Minimoog filter.
Yeah,
and the matrix, and it one of the reasons why I guess I don't do hardware anymore is things have gotten so complex. You got to spend some time to really learn how any one of these machines work. I mean, you could spend hours, months figuring them out. but this would seem like it was really logically laid out.
Yeah.
And to my surprise, it was really easy to learn. So I figured it out and I started making the patches.
Yeah.
And I was just doing it for fun. I was just like, wow, all the vocal stuff you could do. Also, bringing audio through it. I didn't make any patches that are processing, but I was running my surge through it and getting all these crazy sounds.
Right.
And then I was just going through and saying, well, what if I want to do this? And pretty much every one of the patches started from the init. So it wasn't like I was making a patch and just editing it. I mean, some were, because sometimes you get the basis down and
Right.
it's easier to transform it into something completely different. You wouldn't know that it started
Right.
from another patch. But
Right.
it was really kind of like, I want to explore this from the ground up.
Right.
So I start with a mid patch and just start fooling around.
Yeah.
Has great effects, really, and really smartly designed. Like you could just select the effect and turn it off. So if you wanted the 3 effects, you can boom, 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 they're off, and turn them back on and hear what they're doing.
Right.
So it really was really fast, and it was actually fun.
Yeah. Well, the patches reflect that.
The macros. That's where it's like, okay, now I got to think about what modern people do. Because none of that stuff existed when I used to be doing it's like, here's the sound, and they're also designed to be playable. So they're designed for keyboard players, which is a little retro. So, but I also was cognizant of what happens when you turn on the arpeggiator, so that some things will work really well with the arpeggiator. Some won't, because the release is too short long. And it tells, sounds steppy, but
the polyphony will cut off and before it gets to really do its like nice thing that you'd want it to do with the arpeggiator. Now the arpeggiator is so complex in there too. I mean, it can go some crazy places. I
haven't even delved into modulating the modulators. So you can actually have one of the destinations you could set up a patch where, let's say, the cycling envelope is modulating the filter and another LFO is modulating pitch, and you can set up another patch where something else can be modulating the amount of modulation for one of those patches one of those connections that you've made. So you can get all sorts of convoluted
down the rabbit hole programming, I call it.
I'm gonna do some more now that I've got the basics down. I'm gonna delve into some more experimental things.
Hey, one of our viewers is asking, is the MiniFreak better than the MicroFreak? Were you able to compare them?
I've compared them. The thing that's really cool about the MicroFreak is that capacitive touch sensitive keyboard, because you can really get some real expressiveness, but it's monophonic. It's got one oscillator. They're both great, but as a keyboard synth,
I think it can be polyphonic.
You're right. You can get 4 voices out paraphonically on the MicroFreak. I may buy a MicroFreak and actually to use with my EMS Synthy, because it has CV and gate out. And I could use it as a sort of a fake AKS, because it has sequencing, has the CV, and it has pressure, which you could kind of get on an AKS. So they're both great. I mean,
they kind of both have their own applications and so forth. Now, for everybody watching, just realize that the MiniFreak hardware is different than the MiniFreak software in that you said to me yourself, you found that the MiniFreak hardware sounds better because of the analog signal chain.
You can hear the difference. It's warmer, it's rounder, it's beefier. I mean, the digital filters that they did are really nice, but an analog filter, when you hear it, it makes a big difference in the quality of the sound.
Totally. So there is differences in that, but one nice thing is that these patches from Drew will work with either the software version. There's instructions with README, and you took special care to do a lot of screenshots to.
Because right now I think they got it out before they had all their infrastructure ready to support it.
Yeah.
I think they have something called MIDI control, which allows you to do patches or patch uploading and bank uploading for a lot of their machines. It's not in there yet.
Ah.
So the way you have to use the MiniFreak V, the software, as the interface to the hardware, and it's a little convoluted how you get patches in and out.
Right.
So I wrote a whole instruction manual so that step by step, so you don't, because I didn't want people taking the bank, loading it in, and saying, "Holy crap! I just overwrote all the patches that I had done, and some of the internals," because it's all RAM. You know, you can put anything in any order.
Right.
So
right.
yeah, I wanted to provide that so that people had
Right.
hopefully a readable, understandable, step-by-step guide on how to get these sounds into the machine and not screw yourself up.
Right. Wait, where'd those sounds go?
Right.
Yeah.
And I've already done that so many times. Horrible feeling. You know, you don't have it backed up.
Oh.
It's happened to all programmers.
Yes. Data heaven.
Yeah.
When we get to heaven, our banks of sounds we have lost will be over in the corner in a treasure chest for us to find and explore, right? Well, thank you for this time. I know you've got family obligations and stuff, so I really appreciate you making this happen so that you could say hi to everybody.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here
and welcoming you back to the programming world, man.
Yeah, there's more stuff to happen.
Definitely. Yes. Well, good. We're excited to let you share the journey with us and be a part of us and have it all happen. And we're happy to support you any way we can. So
I do need to say that John was instrumental in helping me get this out in a very big way. He did some tweaking to the patches, which was great to have somebody with his experience hear it and say, you know, these things could be a little less effects here, whatever, and also for the artwork and turning it into a product and putting it out on Unify. So if you support the bank, you're supporting John, you're supporting me, and most importantly, I hope that the sounds are inspiring and people like them.
Yes.
Well,
you know, we've been friends for so long. So if there's any way I can help, you know, I am a cheerleader that's going to raise my pom-poms and make some noise and
thank you.
Bring you along any way I can and support you because it's great that you are still doing what you're doing and have passion for exploring sounds and coming up with things that inspire many. Who knows where people will use the sounds. It's really just fun to be able to make them available. And so thank you for doing that. It's really, really fun.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And thanks for having me.
Yeah. Lots of people saying thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So hands together, head bowed.
Yes.
We will talk to you again soon.
Okay.
All right, my friend. Thank you.
Peace out.
Peace out. And now we'll look at the library. We'll play it for everybody and let them hear all the fun stuff we did. So,
all right.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Wow. Okay. That was like the nicest interview I think I've done to date. Yay. It's a whole different skill set to do interviews. So that was really fun. Hope you guys enjoyed that. As you can see, Drew, he's such a great person, such a great, humble person, loves sound, is great at exploring and finding new things and turning them into things. Let me show you this library. Let me show you the MiniFreak a little bit to show you what it can do. Now, we have this inside of Unify. If we go down to the plugins and we go to the MiniFreak down the list, MiniFreak, just so you can see how it works. Go to the list. My eyes are a little fuzzy today, it seems. MiniFreak V. We're using the VST plugin format. And that means that here is MiniFreak right here for us to call up. If you get his patch library and you want to use it, you open up the plugin, you go over here to the sound library bank, and then right here you can click and say import. And this is where you can import this file that is in the folder of the library once you download it. And then when you go to My Sound Banks, right here is Hybrid Synthetics, and you click that, and then it lists all of the patches that are in the library. You just click one. And each one is, if you close this, then you can just cycle through them this way. And as he was talking about, the thing that's so cool with MiniFreak is if you click right here, this is like, each one of these could be a complete synthesizer. All these companies that sell different synthesizers, that's one of these algorithms. So all of these algorithms are in this single plugin. So if you go to now it's not as extensive parameter-wise as a lot of the synthesizers that are different synthesis based, but let's turn down this one. These are the parameters. Right? If you click advanced, this opens up a little bit more advanced where now you can see all the modulation sources, the two envelopes. If you go here to the macro matrix, and what's really fun, let's say that we have this LFO. Let's say we want this LFO to affect something. If you don't see the name in the list, like we see this here, so we can go here to LFO2 and just... But what if I wanted to like do that to something that's not in the list? Let's say that, let's go over here to the effects and let's make this be like a distortion or a bit crusher. Let's say I wanted to play with this knob. What is really cool with this interface is you just click here where it says none, and all of the possible modulation places show up. And all I have to do is click that, and now that is put into the column for modulating. So you can very quickly go to any parameter that's not available for modulation, just click right here, say I want the rate to be modulatable, and now the rate can be modulated by itself. So it's a really, really cool synthesizer in that regard, in that you have all of these engines and then you have really pretty extensive controls. There are two macros that are set up to these same sliders, and as you can see, you can have up to 4 parameters per macro. So like, let's say I want to have the pitch octave setting. So I could go like this, and now when I bring this up, I just added pitch to the macro knob, and then you could save it. Now, inside of Unify, we've made all the patches, and I've connected all of the parameters so that you have the effects. So this is the send for all 3 effects. I didn't make them single because I had so many parameters I wanted to set up, but you have volume for oscillator 1, volume for just... You have amps, you have the filters on the main page for right here. And then over here is pump house, this noise box distortion, and pump house. You have the effects from Unify right here. So it's really easy to take these patches The other thing is it is a 6-voice polyphonic. There's one Unify patch here, where is it at, called Double Polyphony, Double Poly, where I took one of the pads. Hear how it cuts off? Well, this is using the poly box inside of Unify to layer 2 of the same patch. Now it's 12 voices. You gotta play a lot more notes before you get cut off. And if you need more than that, but here, let's do this. In this video, let's take a patch. Let's say we want to double the polyphony of Whirl Funky. Let's do this first. Let's go over here to the decay parameters. Right? We want to double the polyphony of this patch. So we get it set the way you want it to be. Okay, now what you do is go to layer, go to MIDI effects, and down here in the list it says Polybox 4 layer. Let's choose that. Double click. We need to set up a couple things inside of Polybox. We only need 2 layers. We don't need 4 layers. So we say 2, and we want to tell its voicing to be 6 because each one of the layers has 6 voices of polyphony that it gets to work with, and then it's going to be able to share them. So all you have to do now is go to this layer, go where it says in, connect it to the MIDI effect above by right here, MIDI 1, and then change this from MIDI all to MIDI channel 1. And then right here in this corner, you just say duplicate 1 time next MIDI channel, and it will automatically make a copy of the Whirl patch, and it will advance to MIDI channel 2 for the second layer. And now it's using both of those to share the load of the same patch. Like if I open up this one here and let's make this filter a little bit more resonant, a little bit lower, and you'll hear it's actually alternating between the two. So I could do one to the left side, one to the right side. Because it's 2 layers of 2 different versions of the patch, you could either keep it the same. If I hold down, remember we've got this really cool shortcut now where we go Control Shift and click the little bullet that copies plugin settings. If I hold down just Shift and I click another synth that's the same synth and click the bullet, I've duplicated the settings. So now we're back to being the same. It's still alternating left and right. Would MiniFreak make a good starter synth to learn synthesis? I would say yes. I would say yes to that, especially because it's easy to use, and it teaches you more than just that form of synthesis. You have analog, you have all sorts of other forms of synthesis getting into FM, speech, noise, modal synthesis, which is really, really cool. A lot of these are really cool algorithmic types of synthesis based on modular synthesizers because they have a number of these that come from, well, if you go here, if you want more information on this, you go to the Arturia website, Arturia, and they have, let's see, let's go over here. So go Arturia. Again, it's not in the bundle yet. It will come out. It's available here. This is the hardware version they're going to show you if you click Discover. To find the hardware software version, you got to go to Products, go to Software Instruments, and then it will show up fairly quickly in the list right here, Mini V. It's $199 right now. That's its retail price. Everybody has sales from time to time, so you can wait until then if you want. But if you go down this list, they will give you the whole blurb of all the different things that are going on. And if you keep going, you'll get to where they talk about the different forms of synthesis overview-wise, because they do use overview resources. Somewhere here they talk about, these are the resources for it. So overview. They have pictures of all the different engine algorithms. They have the sounds, freak of all trades. Then they get the closer look. Oh, well, somewhere in here they have a thing where they show all the, maybe it's in the hardware version. If you go product, let's do this. Let's go products, hardware. The Freak range right here. I think here, one of their pages, they have a really cool breakdown where they show, it must be here because they didn't have any of it there on the software version, but I think on the, somewhere down here, they had a place where they show the different forms of synth. Somewhere they have a form of synthesis page where they show you all the different forms of synthesis and the plugins that they came from. I was going to hopefully show you that. But anyway, Arturia.com, they have all the information. Again, the hardware version has analog filters and the signal chain after the engine is analog. The effects are digital. And the filter sounds really, really nice. There is a bit of an audio difference between the software and the hardware. Inside of Unify, I really struggled with what. Also, by the way, we have unified all of the patches of the MiniFreak as a library that you can get if you own the MiniFreak. So now, all of them that come with the MiniFreak, all 228 patches. And I really struggled with making it sound. It's not fully optimized. It sounds a little soft. I really wanted, and I did beef it up a little bit, but I wanted to make it even louder with the stereo gain. And I even thought about adding even more EQ. It's just a little bass light to me in the sound when I unified the library. But then when you compare it between this and the original patches, here's the original what the plugin sounds like. And then in Unify, I'm sweetening it to sound like this. You know, so I didn't want to do that much. But even as it is, this is better sounding than what it sounds like if you just used it inside of a DAW. Compare that to this is how it sounds if you call it up in Unify. So we're doing a little bit of sweetening to make it. It does all sorts of really cool sounds. The thing that's nice with it, if you're a beginner, is that you can go here to the advanced page. And this matrix, the matrix is really easy to use and easy to see. You can go LFO cutoff. Bring this up, and that means LFO1 is now changing the cutoff. And you see the value change here. If I bring this down, it goes away. Now it's not doing anything. So you can see the correlation between, this is a modulation source in blue, and it's making this knob wobble. And I'm going to slow it down. And as I slow it down, I see it in the visual feedback. They did a great job with that part of this. So, and then if I want this LFO2 rate to affect LFO1's rate, all I have to do is go over here to this and say LFO1 rate. And then I can go over here and go, I don't know if that's going to be to LFO2 rate. There is a way to have it so that you actually have an LFO2 rate. There's a way to do it where you can modulate the rate of LFOs and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, this won't do it the way it's doing right there. But it is possible to do. It's not a bad filter, but as Drew said, it's only 12 dB. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of videos going over all sorts of things The arpeggiator that's inside of it is very nice as well. Again, I haven't dived that deeply into it. It has a whole separate chord sequence area, which is really, really nice. It's a nice synthesizer to learn the concepts of synthesis and modulating of those parameters, and it's got snappy envelopes. It can do some very, very nice patches if you go through and hear some of the demos. And then inside of Drew's library, there's some really cool basses. Nice bells. The place where this library really shines to me is some of these leads. The synth and the pads are wonderful. Some of these key patches. That's so Drew right there, that kind of patch. Right? Again, limited polyphony drives you crazy sometimes, but inside of Unify, the steps are this. Let's do it one more time. Go up to the top corner, click the little plus, add MIDI effect layer, go to Polybox 4 layer, double click Polybox. We only need 2 layers, and it's 6-voice polyphonic. And then all you have to do is say, connect this to Polybox, set it to MIDI channel 1. So it's because it's MIDI channel specific how it does this splitting of polyphony, and then just say a duplicate. And just like that, and if I need more, I could just go down here. I could say duplicate it again. All I have to do is go to Polybox and say, hey, I just added a third. And now, and if I need more, I could just go here and say one more and go up to Polybox and say, now we have 4. And now we've got, that'd be 6, 12, 20. I think we're at 24 voices of polyphony now. And did I do it right? I set this to 6 voices. Yeah, so. And then you can pan things around. You can change subtly the parameters, and then you start getting into fun things sonically, where it's more like people like the Oberheim synthesizers in the day because each voice was a separate synthesizer. This is a way to treat it that way, where each one of these could have different effects. This could have its own separate reverb on this one. Let's say let's have it do the room with a little bit of decay. So now, and this patch here, let's have it really distorted. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And if you want, you could go to Polybox and say random. And now instead of being cyclical, it's random. For each note played, it's truly random. So when you play a chord, each voice goes through that random choice of which of the 4 is it going to play. Right? Really, really fun. So those are some of the exploring territory you can do. And on top of this, you can say, oh, let's go over here and instead of this, let's have this be Serum. So now out of the 4, every now and then Serum pops up. And this is the rabbit hole that Unify gives you, where you could just be playing forever. Go to Plucked and call some sort of... It gets really, really fun once you start realizing you can distribute and play with all of your plugins in unique, cool ways with Unify. Far beyond what you can do in a DAW or something like that. And then save this as a patch to immediately call up or layer. It's really, really fun. So it's 80. It was supposed to be 85 patches. And then I made a bass because there wasn't a dark bass, and if it's going to be a plugin guru library, it has to gotta have a dark bass. Every synth has to have a dark bass if you can do it, and this can definitely do it, so we did it. And then I've made a couple extras because there are these polyphony double patches. So this is 12 voices of polyphony versus the same patch above it that's only... And now when you play new chords, you hear the previous chords disappear on you right away. So I think I did 1 or 2 of that, and then I did the BPM split at the beginning of the live stream for... And I'll clean that up and do some more unique things, and we're gonna make probably 5, maybe 10 more bonus patches in the coming week for this library. So it is available at the site now, and it's really, really cool. I also want to point out really quickly that our library that we released the week before for Tim Dale's Dark Forces is a really cool library for Omnisphere 2. Really, really fun stuff. This has this library is at its craziest, lowest introductory price for 2 more days. After tomorrow night, it will go to its more what a normal introductory price was. Tim wanted to give everybody an opportunity to pick it up and save some bucks, right? You're still saving bucks after tomorrow night, but just a few less bucks, you know? So, really cool library, huge number of patches. There's his drums, which if you go here and say a Unify layer, we could add these. There's all sorts of bonus BPM grooves. These are patches that Tim made, combining the library, making cool mixed things that have all these different layers. Retro Future. Cool organ groove and all kind of stuff. So it's available. Pick that up if you would like at its introductory price for a couple more days. All right. Tugwit, what did Tugwit say? Will it ever be possible to have the instrument recognize MIDI from different keyboards? We're looking into that stuff for a future update. It's complicated, but that is a direction we definitely want to go. Nothing to announce right now that is available that can do that, but Unify started as a plugin, but a lot of people want it to be a plugin that can be talked to and talk to other things. So we're looking in how to do that. It's a lot of work, but that is a direction that we definitely would like to see Unify go in the future. We're not done with Unify at all, but some of the stuff we want to do are things that take a lot of thinking and programming, and we only have our dear friend Shane writing code. I come up with all sorts of great ideas, but I can't write a line of code. If you were to pay me, yeah. You can get to the point of being in a DAW in a patch over and over and over again. Yeah. There's a lot here to play with. That's the joy of Unify. Is it's an open. As I have said since day one, it is a doggy park for plugins. All your plugins get to play. I had this idea for commercial. If I ever had the money to do it, where it's like these horses were in a big fenced-in area, and they were all running, but they all had just a limited lane, and then they had wooden fences between them and all the other horses. And they could look and see all the other horses around them, but they couldn't play with each other. And then all of a sudden there's this revolutionary music and sound doesn't, and all the fences go away, and all of a sudden the horses are getting to play together and stuff like that. Or dogs, or but the idea is all the plugins that you own get to play together. They aren't just on separate lanes of your DAW having to do their thing. And sometimes they get to play the same MIDI events. Yay! Here it's truly more interactive, where they can actually be combined and integrated to make new sounds. So coders unite. Exactly. All right. So, hey, let me show you, since we're running short, time goes so fast with these streams. It's really funny. So we have been putting together, we've got 2 days left. I think I said tonight, but I'll let you guys go till Sunday night if you need. I'm blown away with how many samples and source you guys have sent us for our free little collective library. For those of you that don't know, we are doing a Plugin Guru collective library where you guys send us samples. We're going to put everything together, and hopefully next week, it will be a free download for everybody to download the basic library, and then give everybody, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks of making patches together. We'll make patches in the live stream. We'll explore things together. We'll look at some crazy concepts. Let me show you some of the stuff that's been added this week, because this week we saw quite a lot of really cool samples added. Tim Dale contributed. Talking about Ensoniq in our interview with Drew. Here's an ESQ1 Kodo. He did a pipe. He showed me in the live stream, he had these plastic pipes that he did some really cool. Really cool for sequencing. Here's an ESQ1 marimba. Check this out. This is a concertina that was sent to me by Robert Peevler. And I have the photo I put in here of the concertina that he sampled. Come over here, lasses, and pull up a chair. I went to sea, you know, off you go type of thing. So that is in this library. There's some really cool things. We have a crystalline bell. Thanks to Dan Durbel. I have the glass vase that I sampled. There's the rolls. And then there's the hits. And round robin. I don't have pictures of the vase up yet, but we'll put that in for the final. Kendall sent us a whole bunch of stuff. There's really cool loops with the Bahran. Cool loops. We've got some drum kits. Where's the drums? Up here. We have drum kits, both the Cyberpunker kit. And then I've been going through Ian Meyer's percussion noises. There were over 800 samples. And I weeded it down to 2 maps of, I think, like it's about 180 samples. And I have all sorts of cool sound of design things to, I got a couple I can show you that I've actually made FZs for. Look at, this is everything in this library now. It's just huge. You guys have just contributed so much that we get to make patches with together. It's been really, really, really fun. But these data streams. Is it okay to sample from an Ensoniq TS synth? I think that should be okay. That's way back into the vintage land days. I don't think there will be much of an issue there. In fact, somebody sampled their SY77. So that's in this library, which is cool. So much stuff. Lots of interesting special effects. Some of the, oops, some I gotta find and fix. We're in the process of fixing it all up. Then you get to the wind instruments, and this is insane for the, we have our own wind section. Look at all these instruments. There's Eastern. Yeah, I'm sorry, Ivor. We don't do tech support for that type of stuff here. I don't think so. Oboes. Saxes. Now they're short sampled, unfortunately, so they have the loops in them. Still very cool. So you can go to the website right now if you want to get the just the template version, which has just a small number of samples in it. You don't have everything that you see here. This will be coming out next week. If you go pluginguru.com, I believe it shows up. I think I have a Guru Collective here. Or maybe I don't. I think it's one of those things. Did I put a thingy up here for? No, I didn't. I need to get a. I think there's a link in the video description. Here's the link for it. It is pluginguru.com. Here, I'll put it into the video chat. If you have Unify, this is a free download. And that will get you this library. It is free. And so from now until the 25th, and then what we're going to do is from April to May 1st will be patch creating phase, which is what we're coming up on. So if you want to make samples, if you want to include some samples in this library, think of it kind of like our own little tiny labs kind of a thing that we're just piano book / labs kind of a thing with Unify. Just to, why not? Everybody likes to make samples. We can do it too. So we've added all sorts of fun stuff. The original library comes with, I believe, just a toy xylophone. And if you hit save, you'll get to the video description list, and it talks about the details, making samples, where to send them, tips and stuff like that. There's also some videos on this YouTube channel on getting samples into Unify, so you can follow those steps along if you want. Okay, so 2 days left to add samples. So get busy today or tomorrow. Preferably send us samples in the correct format. One thing to point out is that we have a directory system set up. Get this, I can do this in a bit more sense. It's great if you just send us the samples, we'll do our best to accommodate. We've been doing that for some people, but don't everybody do that, because it's overwhelming to have so many samples that don't have any maps, and then we have to make the maps and try to organize it. But into the samples folder is where you're going to be working, and inside of here you will find, you won't see all these SFC files. This is the stuff we've been adding to it. But there's a samples folder, and in here is where you'll make a folder with your name. That's where you put your samples. And then when you use, you can use either by duplicating the, where is it, at the toy xylophone. If you duplicate this is the SFC map, and you can simplify this down, and then all you have to do is just make sure that the sample location where it says path is sample / go here and change this to be the name of your folder, and then it knows to look into that folder, and then you could edit the text to put these to be your own samples, or we have a program that can do it. Some people haven't had great success, but most people have with Bjorn's sample mapper. Here you can take samples. Let's say we go over here to the samples folder. If I was to go to something in my folder where I know at least the names are straightened out. So say the xylophone soft part 3 or pass 3 as I would call it. If you drag the samples up here, all you have to do is hit root key, and that will put it to where it reads the samples by the pitch. That's the last thing in the name of the sample. So your samples need to have the pitch at the end of the sample names, and then it can go like this. Then you go to preferences and make sure you have checked the little export as Plugin Guru Unify format. Only have to do it once, and then it remembers it for good. And then just say save SFC, and you would save it into the folder above this where the other SFC files are, and then send that to us. Send us your samples folder, and we will be able to incorporate and put them into the library and get this all together. So hopefully starting April 1st, everybody gets to play with the samples together. Now, I'm working on a video that I'm going to be releasing probably this coming week, and I wanted to run it by you guys. Let's see if I can find it. Recent. It's a beginner's tips video. And I just wanted to get your input on this. And if you guys had any tips you wanted to add, put them into the video chat description. We've had a nice influx of new users, and I just want to make sure we have a video 2023 tips for beginners. So I'm going to go over these tips real quick. And I got like 10 minutes to do this, okay? Good point, Tim. If you do have loop samples, use the sample mapper because it does incorporate the loop points and stuff like that into the samples, which needs to be there for the samples to play. Very good point. What if we use Logic Pro's auto sampler? Well, it's an SFZ file is what Unify is reading, and it's a simplified SFZ file. Again, if you just get us the samples, and especially if they're named properly with the pitch at the end of the samples, so that we can just drag them over and it makes a sample map. I have no problem making those for this library. It's not a problem. Where it gets to be a challenge is we've got people that have sent us like, 2,000 samples in a folder. Here's my 10 years of sampling. And it's all up to us to do everything as far as mapping, editing, looping, making SFC files. I'm doing that a little bit, but I'm not going to I can't do that for every sample that's sent to me if it's sent that way. That's just a huge amount of work to do that. But anyway, so tips for beginners. I think the number one tip, when I asked Shane, he said location. Most important thing is to realize with Unify when you're installing that it's going to grow. The folder is going to grow. This library, yeah, don't worry. If you don't send, I'm a sampling freak, so I can map things and edit things. I edited 1,200 samples yesterday alone. So don't worry. If you get the samples to us, I will make it work. We'll get them in there. But anything you can do to help make it easier is going to be helpful. Yeah, the sample mapper is good for making things for the EXS format, but that's not something that Unify reads. So location is one of the biggest tips. Is just make sure that when you install Unify, you set up, and if you do move it in the future, to realize that you can go to the settings and you can change the data folder location. You can click change after you've moved it somewhere. Click open, and this is what it looks like when it opens that folder. That's once you've moved it to a new location, you want to make sure that Unify knows where it is, to where when you hit open, it opens and you see the libraries and the presets and all these different folder types that are there. I might have a couple that you don't have. I've made my own impulses responses folder, stuff like that. But location is really, really important. Number 2, play the standalone version, and I'm going to have a list of some patches because there's so many different things that Unify can do. And so to find the latch patches, latch in the standard library, being able to play these where it's calling up a patch, and then it latches it so that versus also a WS patch. WS means wave sequencing. So you can go up here to these wave sequence patches where it's playing like a wave sequencers, things like that. So step 2 is to know what Unify can do. Also, make sure that you play in standalone mode, because here every patch can have its own tempo. One patch might be 120. Another patch right next to it could be a whole different tempo. So you can be from when you get to the BPM stuff, each one of these is going to be at a different tempo. Go to Broken Chords Piano, and it's a different tempo. You don't get that if you're playing it in a DAW, because Unify is listening to the DAW. The DAW's at a tempo, and it doesn't change. So it stays at the same tempo for every patch. In standalone, every groove, every BPM thing can be saved at whatever tempo it needs to be for that patch. So know that. Number 3, plugin optimization. This is a big one. Going to the plugin list, you can scan for all 3 formats of your plugins. And then after that, use this remove redundant plugin command, and that will strip out all the duplicates so that VST2 is priority, then VST3, and then audio unit. So when I look at my list, I have VST3 plugins for some of these. A lot of companies these days can't get a VST2 license from Steinberg. They've stopped giving them out. So I have VST2, I have VST3. If there is no VST2 version, they're in the list. And there's some places where you even see audio units because it was only available as an audio unit. So that is a really fun thing to do optimizations, because in a lot of DAWs, they only look at audio units or VST or VST3. This gives you the ability to use all of your plugins inside of Unify if you do that, okay? Macro knobs for God mode. You can do all sorts of crazy powerful things with the real-time controllers to have one knob controlling parameters on every layer of every plugin that you have inside of your synth, which is really, really fun. Layer ranges and hidden abilities. This is the ability to right-click or click here with the right-click to choose key ranges for each layer to be at its own range. And then if you hold down Control and Option and you click in a very, very careful part of the range, you're now doing fades. And this is why it's called hidden, is because at the moment we don't have parameters here for the fade. And it goes even farther. You can right-click in here and then drag the fades. And then if you hold down Control and Shift and then click in here, you're actually changing the percentage shape of the fade curve so that you can have it favor quicker going or later going between one layer and another. This fade is 100% velocity based. It isn't able to do it on a volume basis, which means you need to have a patch. If I had velocity sensitivity at 0, you would not hear any of this fade ability. It's only because of velocity sensitivity that fade can work. That's how it works, because it's dealing with something in MIDI. Humanizing perfection is talking about taking a BPM drum groove, having jitterbox. As I add more of this maximum, each note is randomly being played back with a certain amount of random delay, humanizing it. And putting a little bit just makes it so much more human than being perfect. So that's a really fun thing. Polyphony extension. We did that earlier with inside of MiniFreak. It's very fun to set up where you have something that's only 6 voices. It's even cooler when you're dealing with monophonic synths. If we said like VK, let's see, what company makes the VK? I should point out, if you go to the plugin list, we have a search up here for plugins. Someday this is going to make its way into, we could use Repro. Someday that's going to make it into the plugin list. I am pretty sure we're going to do that. Let's go down here to Uhi, to Repro 1. This is monophonic, right? Here's a cool sound. I wish I could play chords, but I can't. Well, the polyphony extending capability, if you go over to layers, MIDI effects, Polybox 8 layers, I want to be 8 voice polyphonic. So I open up Polybox, it's set to 8 voices, and it's a monophonic layer for each layer. So now all I have to do is go down here and say, I'm connected to Polybox, and I set this to MIDI channel 1. And then I go to this little bullet over here and I say, make 7 copies, please. And now it's polyphonic. So any monophonic synth can be played as a polyphonic synth. And now, like I showed you with the MiniFreak, you can start playing with pan, start playing with plugin settings for each of the repros if you wanted to make it even more unique and customized for your song, to have that kind of like analog quality, because each voice is a different sound. The other cool thing with this shortcut trick is if you hold down Option and you click Init, that tells Unify to get rid of everything but layer 1. So that way you can hit bypass on Polybox, go back to Repro 1, find the next patch you want to play with. I want that to be polyphonic. All you have to do now is say turn back on Polybox, go over here and say multiply times 7, and now, and you could do up to 16 layers. We only have this as, let's hold down Option and say init. If I go to Polybox and I say I want this to be 16 MIDI channels, right? Say 16. All I have to do is go over here to the plus and say duplicate 15 times the next channel. It has made 15 copies of that patch, each one advancing the MIDI by 1. So now I have 16 voices of Polyphony of Repro 1. Just like that. And then hold down Option, click Init, bypass Polybox, start searching through your synth again. Even something like this, polyphonic. Turn that on, go over here, say next 15, and now I have a 16 voice polyphonic BPM ARP Repro 1 patch. And you can do this all day long. Hold down Option, click Init, that resets it, bypass Polybox, because Polybox, what it's doing is it's cycling, each note goes to the next MIDI channel. It's just simple math. So I could play one note. There it was. Right? There's one note. Now I have to play 15 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So it's just going down a cycle. Each note you play goes to the next MIDI channel. Okay? So that's really, really fun. So that's a tip I want to make sure people know about. Effects for days. Just realize that Unify has this list of incredible delays, distortions, dynamics, EQ, all these modulation effects, 10 different reverbs. It's crazy. Combo box, all this stuff that's just really, really powerful is built in and included with Unify to work with. Making layers and how to humanize them. This is like, let's go to the Collective. And we have all these wind instruments that Thievery has created. Like here's saxophone. Let's go over here to Unify Layer and let's load the trombone and the trumpet. I think these are all monophonic, but that's okay. And let's say muted trumpet. Right? If I put a creative jitterbox on each one of these at like say maybe about 30 milliseconds of delay. So it's randomly choosing up to 30 milliseconds for each of these 4 layers. I'm going to turn this into sounding like a big band ensemble instead of sounding like 4 layers triggered from a MIDI note. Because and maybe make one a little bit lazier because someone's just a little tired today and they're a little bit slower than everybody else. But by putting random on each layer, it's just off a bit, and you can maybe even make it more noticeable, make it into the 50 milliseconds or something like that. And by doing this, now if you compare that to versus having this off, where they all play the same versus turning it on. Big difference in how it can play. And then MIDI box for playing MIDI files is really, really fun because you could take just like, let's say like one of these bell vases or something like that. Let's see, put this back to normal vases. Go over here, add MIDI box. Let's say we go to the standard library and click the little load button. And I need to say, I'm going to find, let's go to the list view and name. I want the ones from the orchestra and one of the string ones, like say spiccato, 8th. So it's now going to play right? It's playing the MIDI file that did that. That's all I did in the MIDI file is one note, but because MIDI box has polytranspose, I can play chords. So you can use any MIDI file with any timing. Now let's add jitterbox. It's really, really fun. Add a delay. Let's see, we got a delay. Right? Also, a sound set using some Elka sounds. Just make sure when you're contributing samples, try to send us things that are from synthesizers. It gets really, really gray area, and I don't want to say no, but we might have to some if it's like samples that sound like they could be from sound libraries. There's a couple of samples where I think I have to not include them because they sound like sound effect library samples. And anything like that, samples are copywritten by somebody else, unless you sampled them, you know? Yeah, when you're talking about something like Mark Phillips is asking about digital pitch, randomizing, you can do, let's see, let's do this. Let's turn off this. Let's bypass MIDI box and jitterbox. Inside of Unify, one of the instruments is OBXD, and one of the cool things with OBXD is right here, this voice variation. Let's see, for pitch, I can't remember if there was a true pitch. You could do pitch here and say sample and hold. That can give you some random pitching. Do that's a little bit too much, but you get the idea. The other thing for random pitch that we have inside of Unify to play with, it's really fun, is if you go over here to distortion, to chow tape model, the wow. And if you're really trying to sound analog, go over here to degrade. Well, loss also. You can get rid of that bright digital sound really quickly. And if you need noise, go to degrade and turn this on. Right? And then what's really great is this envelope will follow the envelope of the sound to the point where you don't even hear it. It can like loosely follow it here where it stays after the sound. But if you bring envelope all the way up, it is tracking it so tightly that it's not no longer being a hissy thing that just sits around. So you can get, through the use of wow, loss, and degrade alone, and then add some drive. Here's without it. Here's with it. So you can definitely go more into what we perceive as analog technology just through the use of the Chow tape model. Is such a wonderful, wonderful plugin. Really, really cool. All right. Physical synths don't sample digital Roland from 8500. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Especially on Roland synthesizers. They are very, very strong at their copyright policing. Many plugins have shown up and then disappeared because they had Roland sounds inside of them. So don't send us something from a Roland synthesizer, please. So I think we'll wrap it up here. I hope you guys enjoyed today's live stream. This was really, really fun. I want to thank Drew Schlesinger for coming on board for the interview and for making a very nice library for support for MiniFreak. I had thought about doing something. I haven't done a lot of library support for other plugins. You'll see that change. We're working on I keep saying it, and I know you don't want to hear it, but we're working on a library for Vital. It's going to be very nice when it comes out. I have a library to release next week from Fred Nonga from France that is wonderful for Repro 1. It's a monophonic synth library, but he's got a whole bunch of polyphonic patches, and it is really exciting. It's really, really cool to have those types of libraries available. So all sorts of cool stuff. Like I said, it's good times here at the website. So, oh, thank you, Vander. Appreciate it, Vendor. Thank you. Appreciate the support. Thank you again to all of you guys that joined for the live stream. It's been lots of fun. Can't keep up. I know. Well, you don't have to buy everything. You know, the libraries are here for a long time. And those of you that can buy when they just come out, I appreciate and thank you. Like, that's just awesome. And it's not always like this where there's so many, but there is, it's just, I've been working with so many developers and they all are being creative and have really cool libraries and would like to have me release them. So typically I do like one a month, and it's been one a week for a little bit. And it'll be that way for a little bit more. But we'll get back to a one a month. I like that kind of pace, but you know, if they're here, I want to support and release them and share them with everybody. So, you know, yes. Now, one also thing to point out, even for this and for the beginner videos and so forth, is this is saved so you can watch it again. And any video that has something concept-wise that I cover that goes kind of quickly, you can back up and watch it again. I try really carefully not to pull any tricks. It's not like, and now listen to the mix, and all of a sudden this thing happens and you're like, wait, what happened? You know, everything is procedural, and you can see the steps that are taken to turn like the OBXD patch into analog. Go back and watch the video and pause after I do each thing, and then find those parameters and do it on Unify yourself. It's the best way to learn. Just repeat. Used to be everything was text on magazine pages with little tiny 32 squares on a page with text. And that's where my eyes get fuzzy and stuff like that. And it's really hard to follow the concept. Here, at least, it's something you can see, you can pause, you can watch it again. Good. All right. Shout outs. Let's do our shout outs from wherever in the world we are. Shout out from, it's not raining right now, but it's cold. Shout out from bright, chilly Portland, Oregon. Out from. Hello, San Diego. Hey, Ken. Good to see you from Camino, Washington, Colorado. Hey, Dave. Dave G in UK. Lancashire. Hey, Finland in the house. Hello. Nice to see you. Welcome. Hi, Peter in Edinburgh, Cambridge, UK. All you guys in the UK, little evening entertainment. That's very nice you're joining. Thank you. Sounds from the Sandbox. Hey, Carmel. Cool. Good to see you, man. Right on. Ivar in Norway. Thank you, Ivar, for being here. Kim in Germany. Thank you for joining us all. It's been really fun. Taylor, thank you big time for your help. Everybody give a shout out to Taylor. Thank you, Taylor. He's been helping with this sample map acquisition and mapping and all this stuff. It's so much work. He's rocking it. But it's great. Thank you. All right, guys. Oh, clocks go forward tonight. Wow. Your times are different. We did ours like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Interesting. Yes, gratitude back to you guys. Thank you all. All right. Well, we'll see you next week in another live stream. Maybe I'll be week 3 with an interview. We'll find out. We'll see if Fred can join us to say hi. I'd love you guys to meet him. Really cool individual. All right. Be well, everybody. We will see you soon. Take care.